We like to imagine a single hand, a single mind, a single night when hunger cornered a human beneath a sky of cold stars, and a stick sharpened by firelight became more than wood. Today, a spear is museum glass, a label, a drawing in a textbook. Back then, it was an argument with death. Hold it wrong and you bleed. Hold it right and you eat. But that's not all. To truly understand the first spear, we have to stop hunting for heroes and start listening for patterns of fear, of hunger, of the small, repeatable steps that turn a stick into a law of survival. The truth is awkward for storytellers. There was no first in the way a calendar likes. There were many firsts scattered across plains and forests, repeating with the logic of need. A storm drops a branch. A child picks it up and pokes the mud. A spark catches in a mind that does not yet have words for tool. Somewhere else, someone notices that dry wood hardens and narrows when set in embers, a primitive kiln whispering geometry into the grain, and in the long ages before names, before memory could be written, this happened not once, but again, and again, and again. Start with the world that made the spear necessary. The grass was high, the game was fast, the distance between empty hands and meat was measured in risk. Teeth can tear, hands can hold. But neither can reach safely into the space where a boar charges or an antelope kicks. A spear is a bridge between the body and the danger it desires. It is also a boundary between the predator and the wound it cannot afford. Picture a dry season. A herd shadows a shrinking waterhole, horn against horn, eye against eye. A band watches from the thorn scrub, counting breaths, tasting dust. They have stones, and stones bruise. They have fire, and fire frightens but does not feed. Then someone call them the one who tries, shapes a branch to a point, chars it, scrapes it clean, and learns the first quiet law of craft. Heat tempers, ash polishes, patience sharpens. The point bites deeper, the distance shortens, the risk becomes negotiable, but that's not all. Human bodies were changing long before minds knew why. Shoulders loosened, torsos twisted, wrists learned the language of leverage. Throwing wasn't a trick. It was an inheritance, bones and tendons tuned for arcs and impact. When a hand learned to send a shaft singing through air, the world widened. Prey that was once too dangerous became possible. Possible is a hinge word in human history. We tell origin stories with heroes because heroes are easy to remember, but a spear is a chorus of small discoveries. The right wood straight-grained, not too heavy, not too brittle. The right fire hot enough to harden, gentle enough not to crack. The right edgestone flake pressed into a sliver, hafted with sinew and resin, turning wood into a composite in tension. And the right practice throw, miss, throw again, watch the wobble, shave the shaft, bind tighter, aim lower, breathe. Consider 3 scenes, emotional truths stitched from a past that will never tell us its names. Scene 1, the riverbank. A woman kneels where reeds thicken, splitting stems, twisting cord. Her child drags a branch, darkened at one end by curiosity and coals. He prods the river mud. The point sinks cleaner today than yesterday. A fish flashes and he jabs, clumsy, excited, wrong angle, wrong speed. The fish escapes, but a lesson remains. The water magnifies distance, the tip must lead the flick of the tail. Tomorrow he will stand where the sun sits higher, and his hand will remember something his mouth does not yet know how to say. Scene 2, the thorn thicket. 3 adults crouch low, watching a boar uproot the earth. Their spears are thicker, blunter, meant not to penetrate deep but to stop a charge, to make space for a second strike. Breath tightens into a single moment. A shout, a rush, a blur of dust and muscle. A spear glances, another lands. The boar veers alive, furious, retreating. Not a kill, not today. But the group walks home with a story that edits itself into technique. Hold the butt under the arm, brace the heel, angle the point to deflect and bite. Scene 3, the midnight fire. The band has meat. Children fall asleep against bellies full for the first time in days. The one who tries sits with a stone and a splinter of bone, carving a notch into the shaft, testing a flake of obsidian that bites like ice. Sinew stretches, resin warms, a point seats into a cradle of wood, composite, more than the sum of parts, and in that tiny joint stone into wood, flesh into intention, there is a prophecy. Tools will mate with tools, and from their union will come distance, precision, repetition. To truly understand the first spear, measure the distances it closed. Distance to food, shorter. Distance to fear, longer. Distance between idea and outcome, more reliable. A spear collapses uncertainty into technique. Technique becomes tradition. Tradition becomes teaching. And teaching means the most human thing of all. The dead can reach forward and place their hands over the living's hands, guiding the throw. Yet there is a darker ledger. The spear that feeds can also rule. It changes hunting, but it also changes us. Who holds the weapon holds time, the time others will live, or not. Around the spear, roles crystallize. Who scouts, who flanks, who rushes, who stands. Hierarchy grows from necessity like a thorn from a branch. We like to think technology is neutral. It isn't. It drags ethics behind it like a shadow. Consider the teaching that hurts. A young hunter throws too soon. The point hits shoulder, not lung. The animal wheels, the ground shreds under hooves. A cousin falls. Silence afterward is a teacher with a hard voice. The band remakes its rules. No throws from the open unless the flank is set. No rush without a second spear waiting. No hunt when the wind turns wrong. Technique has a cost, and the receipt is paid in names. But that's not all. Somewhere else, another band stops holding the spear like a staff and starts sending it farther with a lever of wood. A cradle for the butt, a flick of the wrist. The spear flies truer, farther, with less effort. Distance grows again. So does possibility. So does the temptation to stand just outside of danger and call it wisdom. There is a temptation in stories like this to draw a line from first spear to first empire, to say, here is where violence learned to travel. That line is both true and unfair. True because tools amplify reach, and reach amplifies consequence. Unfair because the first spear did not invent cruelty. It invented dinner. Hunger is not a metaphor, it is a calendar in the blood. In that ledger the spear appears as relief before it appears as rule. We cannot name the first maker, but we can sketch their mind. Curiosity resilient to failure, attention to small differences. This wood splits that wood springs, this heat strengthens that heat cracks, this binding slips that one holds when wet. A willingness to watch and to imitate. Animal and element alike. Hyenas test with teeth. Humans test with distance. Both are ways of asking the same question. What will give first the world, or me? And we can sketch their heart. Not the heart of the destroyer, but of the caretaker. Because a spear, used well, is as much about bringing something home as it is about sending something away. Meat means marrow for elders. Fat means brain food for children. Skin means warmth. Bone means needles. Sinew means thread. The first spear is not a weapon alone. It is a loom that weaves survival. There is a quiet beauty in the craft itself. The grain that straightens under a patient eye. The gleam of a stone edge kissed against wet leather. The smoke that darkens a tip to resist water. Making a spear is writing a sentence in materials. Subject, verb, object. Wood is the subject. Point is the verb. Hunger is the object. Read aloud, the sentence says, I will cross the space between us. Rhetorical question. What separates a stick from a spear? Not just a point. Intention. Intention that survives the night and wakes up again at dawn. Intention that can be taught. When the first maker showed the second maker how to notch, bind, and balance, humanity invented something larger than a tool. We invented instruction, and instruction survives the body that speaks it. So where is the tragedy? It's in the arithmetic of risk. Every advance costs someone something. Sharpen the point and the hunt shifts from chaos to choreography, but choreography still bleeds. Villages will grow around reliable protein. Songs will rise from full bellies. But the same point that pierces hide can pierce skin of a neighbour, and once a tool can move power across space, the temptation to move it across people follows. This is the turning, the culmination. A hunt at dusk, the herd breaks toward the ravine. The band splits on either side, spears levelled like sentences that end in periods. The throw lands clean lungs, not shoulder. The animal falls quickly. No screams, no chase, no scattered blood trail into the night. The faces around the carcass are lit by relief, not frenzy. Technique has matured. The craft is quietly ruthless. Aim small, miss small. Close the distance, shorten the suffering. It is tragedy inverted, a skill grown from necessity that reduces pain rather than multiplies it. But as the group carries the meat home, another band, unseen, watches how they did it. Tomorrow the lesson will move again, along the rootwork of rumour and imitation, until the skill belongs to no one and everyone. What finally do we owe that first hand that turned wood into a promise? We owe them this, to remember that tools are questions as much as answers. Each asks us what kind of distance we wish to close between hunger and food, fear and courage, conflict and mercy. The spear is not our first violence, it is our first safe reach. It lengthens the arm without hardening the heart unless we choose it to. But that's not all. To truly understand the first spear, look at what remains in its wake, not just bones and ash, patterns. Children practicing throws with reeds at dusk, elders arguing about balance and wind, makers trading resin recipes like spells, communities stitched together by the choreography of the hunt and the etiquette of the meal. In those patterns, a tool becomes culture, and culture becomes a kind of memory that outlives even the hills. We will never carve a name on a stone and say, "Here lies the first spearmaker." The record is a whisper, not a shout. But we can stand by water or grass, hold a straight branch, and feel the ghost of their decision. We can honour it by using reach to lessen suffering, not lengthen it, by teaching craft with humility, by remembering that the point is not the point is what it lets us choose. So who was the first human who made a spear? Someone without a name, in a place without a map. Someone hungry, careful, and brave enough to make the world one arm's length safer. And that is the philosophy at the end of this hunt. Beginnings are not moments, they are patterns. This one still hums in our bones every time a hand reaches out, shapes a thing, and softly asks the oldest human question,